Nature could easily survive without us. We, however, couldn't really survive without it. Hello and welcome. I'm Sadhika Tiwari and you're watching Eco India. An intact environment is directly linked to our livelihoods, to our incomes and our well-being, not just in India, but across the globe. But with these environmental problems, how do we make sure to secure our future? Let's find out in today's episode. Let's start from Pondicherry in the south of India. Rising sea levels mean a threat to coastal areas and shorelines with disappearing beaches and eroding coasts. And that has specifically become a big problem for the fisher community here. And while this problem might seem too big to be solved locally, there are solutions.
The ocean is powerful. With every wave, it pulls more sand away. On the east coast of India, near Puducherry, fishermen watch as the shoreline continues to change. The transformation has devastating consequences for their lives. We can't bring our boats to shore. Now we dock them farther away because the waves are even reaching the houses near the shore. Over the past year, only 20 out of 100 boats in the village have been able to go out to the sea. If they can't get their boats to shore, Arumugam and the other fishers in Pillai can't get their fish to shore either. That now happens often. Coastal erosion has damaged many homes and their fishing shelter has been destroyed too. We stored our nets there. Each net cost the equivalent of about 1,600 euros. And we lost 7 of them. The government promised to give us compensation, but we haven't received anything yet. It is the women who sell the fish, but the fish market was also swallowed by the sea, so they now sell on the streets instead. But erosion isn't the only problem affecting fish stocks. Studies show overfishing and rising sea temperatures are also driving fish numbers down.
It's not like before. Nowadays, we are only getting small amounts of fish, as you see from our sales today.
For many fishing families, life on the coast has become a struggle to survive. The changing climate only adds to that. Extreme weather events like tropical storms are becoming more frequent, and rising sea levels are threatening more and more towns. In Puducherry, just north of Pillai, beach erosion is also a problem. The coastal city attracts nearly 2 million tourists a year, drawn by its beautiful beaches. But those beaches are gradually disappearing. Over 56% of Puducherry's coastline is affected by erosion, according to a 2022 report by India's National Centre for Coastal Research. Here, though, the problem isn't just natural, it's also man-made. The expansion of the harbour has played a big role.
The construction of that harbour interfered with the natural movement of sand, the movement of water, currents, waves, and then of course the sand, which then disrupted this natural equilibrium and started creating erosion on one side.
Aureofilio Schiavina has been involved in coastal protection for many years. He co-founded the NGO Pondicherry and has spent over a decade documenting how the coastline around the harbour has changed. The harbour was built in the late 1990s, and along with it, many barriers, known as groins.
Groins essentially are designed to block the sand. The whole purpose of a groin is to retain sand. Now, on a coastline where the natural process is that sand moves along the coastline, if you create a blockage of sand, you are bound to create erosion on the other. You're going to disrupt that equilibrium.
As a result, surrounding beaches have suffered great erosion. In 2017, Pondicherry partnered with the National Institute of Ocean Technology to restore the lost beach on Puducherry's main promenade. They introduced gentle coastal protection methods that take nature into greater consideration.
You take sand from the place where there's excess sand, so in this case, in the harbour and south of the harbour, and the northern side of the town where the erosion is happening needs sand. So there's a shortage of sand. It's no rocket science. So you just have to bring the sand from one place where it's not needed to the other place where it's needed. So that's called sand bypassing, sand nourishment. So that's the heart of the project.
To allow the sand to move naturally, they built and submerged an artificial reef shaped like a wedge. And it worked. The promenade slowly recovered. After 7 years, the beach is now about 1.5 meters wide, even at high tide. But with the harbour still in place, maintaining the beach is an ongoing task. This hasn't helped the fishermen in Palaichevadi, but another project might. The Central Marine Fisheries Research Institute has been building artificial reefs along the coast. In the fishing village of Kovalam, near Chennai, north of Puducherry, 2 artificial reefs have been built over the past 8 years. Devan has been fishing here for 45 years. Since the reefs were installed, his catch has doubled. There is always fish. The artificial reef gives the fish a new home, and they breed there. It's very useful. A similar artificial reef is soon planned for the coast of Palaichevadi. While it may not stop erosion, it offers hope for improving the fish stocks for these communities.
Often, those who have contributed the least to environmental pollution are the ones who are the most severely impacted by it. Same is the case for the prawn fishers in the southern state of Tamil Nadu. Over the years, making a decent catch has become increasingly difficult for them, and that has put their futures at risk.
Every morning, these fisherwomen from North Tamil Nadu walk barefoot for about an hour to reach their fishing spot. All they carry with them is a bottle of water and a palmyra bag for their catchment. Even though this has been their routine for decades, Rubavati says a lot has changed in this landscape.
25 years ago, the river was fine. It's now in such a bad condition and our entire livelihood is gone.
Rubavati is referring to the 136-kilometer long Kosastalaya River. It flows through 2 South Indian states and its river basin spans an area of over 3,700 square kilometers.
Are you finding any fish today? Whether you do or not, it doesn't matter. We've got to be here.
Water from the river's Pondi Reservoir flows through the Thiruvallur district where their village Senganimedu is present before discharging into the Bay of Bengal. These women are known for their unique ability to catch different types of fish and crustaceans with just their hands. Jyoti demonstrates how they catch prawns on a daily basis.
When we push the water in this direction, the prawns go down due to the pressure. Once they've settled, we catch them.
For the past few years, we've been returning empty. We only get a handful. There's no possibility of getting the same amount anymore.
This place has changed a lot.
This sentiment is shared by many fishing communities here. Once famous for its rich biodiversity, the Ennur-Manali region has been heavily reclassified by the Tamil Nadu government to allow for petrochemicals and coal-based industries. Today, there are more than 90 highly polluting industries here. The most prominent of them is the state-owned North Chennai Thermal Power Station, which has been accused of releasing fly ash, a toxic byproduct created during the burning of coal, into the Kosastalaya River. Since it's illegal to dump or dispose of fly ash on land or into water bodies in India, the North Chennai Thermal Power Station is supposed to transport it to the nearest 1,000-acre ash pond. We reached out to both the State Electricity Board and the Pollution Control Board to understand how something this toxic ends up in the river, but they refused to comment on the matter. So we reached out to writer and researcher Nithyanand Jayaraman, who has extensively studied this region and investigates and reports on abuses of the environment and human rights.
The fly ash that has been taken from this power plant through pipelines has leaked all the time and has again destroyed about 1,000 acres of the river, the backwaters that so many communities depend upon. Now, this entire supply chain of devastation is invisible to the people who are doing this.
The Madras High Court ordered that the pipelines be replaced in 1996. This order has been repeated in 2017 and 2022, but the work has not been completed yet. As a result, fly ash continues to leak into the river and cause harm to human health and non-human life forms crucial to sustaining livelihoods. Rubavati demonstrates how the fly ash has destroyed the natural habitat for prawns.
The prawns would just sit on the sand here. Because of the fly ash, they're unable to get a good grip. They float away in the water. We used to get so many prawns, but nowadays, even getting one is difficult.
Over time, the fly ash has fundamentally altered this region's natural landscape of wetlands, agriculture fields, mangroves, and salt pans. To make matters worse, the plant is also accused of releasing heated water used as a coolant into the river, which negatively affects the aquatic life.
The warmer temperature of the water doesn't suit us. We feel faint and our vision blurs. If we can't handle it, no wonder the fish and prawns are dying.
After spending half a day, their Palmyra bag turns up almost empty. To have something to sell at the end of the day, they collect these clams.
This saves us on most days.
They fill their Palmyra bags with these clams and make their way back home.
I'll wait for you over on the other shore.
While numerous communities like this are suffering due to the rapid industrialization, it's also the people living about 50 kilometers away in Chennai. Some of the consequences they face include experiencing heat waves more intensely and rapid depletion of groundwater. But there's one consequence that makes it to the news every year without fail, and that's flooding.
We have increased the built-up area and reduced the capacity of the rivers to carry floodwaters. Ennur has been subject to more than 3,000 acres has been taken over for industrial development, and the river's ability to store the floodwater and then release it slowly through the small river mouth has been compromised because you have affected the storage capacity. Because the river is not what it used to be.
Back in the village, Rubavati has been breaking these clams for nearly 2 hours. Yet, she hasn't been able to make a profit despite the time and effort that goes into it.
I sat down to open these at around 2 p.m. I just sold 2 glasses to someone for 50 rupees a glass, and I've given that 100 rupees to my mother to go to the store to buy rice.
Meanwhile, Jyoti is preparing dinner with the handful of prawns she managed to catch. She says they're unable to repay large loans, which ends up taking a toll on their mental health.
Since the interest keeps accumulating, we're unable to repay it on time. I feel bad that we're not able to make enough to pay back our loans.
These women are probably the last generation to continue this practice of fishing. So, what happens now? There are a few activism groups and individuals who have spoken out, filed cases in court, and worked on educating the public to protect this region. One of them is Nityanand and his team from the Coastal Resource Center, who put together a people's plan for eco-restoration of Ennur wetlands that focuses on the relationship people share with their environment.
Remediating the wetland will mean that the life of the wetland comes back to it. And if that happens, there will be money in every household inside that depends on the river.
Across the globe, communities that closely depend on their environment, like these prawn catchers, deserve justice. Going forward, we need to include everybody's voices, especially those who are marginalized, while developing a region.
Another industry that secures the livelihoods of many is tourism. But this industry too has created environmental problems. UN research tells us that planet warming emissions from tourism could increase by 131% by 2050, and water consumption could go up by 152%, further intensifying water scarcity. Locals in tourist hotspots are more and more concerned about these impacts and other consequences of over-tourism, also in the city of Barcelona in Spain.
Cathedral, beach, Rambla. Millions of people in one place. Tourism is becoming a challenge. Not far from Barcelona, a beach promenade is being removed to make sure that tourists keep coming. How does it all fit together? The answer is, it's complicated, because tourism is also complicated. On the one hand, there are crowds. 20 million people visit Barcelona's Sagrada Familia Cathedral and the Market Hall every year. They're often crowded. The city now wants to make improvements and is spending millions. Every city is currently trying to manage tourism. Is it positive for the city? Yes, but you do reach a point where it no longer brings any added value. The next morning I meet Esther Jorquera, who lives in the Barceloneta district right next to the port. She's fed up with tourism. Her opinion on the town hall's plans is very clear. In other words, Barcelona will continue to be overcrowded. We need less tourism, but done well and purposefully, not just investing millions in public money on something that turns out to be ineffective. Eva Vidal and Juan Blaya are combating the illegal rental apartments in Barcelona. They are 2 of 27 inspectors. Their job is to find out whether there are short-term tourists living in apartments without a license. Nearly 10,000 have been shut down in recent years. It's tough work. Nobody opens the door at the first appointment. There are 5 apartments in this building that are under suspicion. Things become clear at the next door they visit. I need some information. I just want to talk to you. Is anyone living here, or are you cleaning after someone moved out? Yes, well, I'm just here for the cleaning company. These apartments are for tourists. The wheels are finally starting to turn. It's a lengthy process. Nevertheless, it's been successful, especially with private landlords. If you catch them, they actually stop. But it's different with the large owners of 10, 15, 20, 60 apartments across Barcelona. They don't really mind the 60,000 euro fine because they can quickly recoup the money from the other apartments. The experts also consider limits on vacation rentals to be an effective approach, but at the same time, there is a clear rejection of other tourism alternatives. All of these things need to be abolished, but we also have to be careful to make sure that changing this doesn't lead to elitism. Thinking that the solution lies in quality tourism, which is actually a euphemism for tourism for the wealthy. If more rich people come, it doesn't mean that tourism is better distributed, and there are not enough rich people for everyone. Tourism is complicated. It could have been slowed down this summer in Catalonia by a lack of water. Then it rained just in time. South of Barcelona, however, there is another example of how climate change can influence tourism over the long term. In Calafell, sand is being brought in for a lot of money to prepare the beach for the high season. We removed a plaza here that took up 800 meters of space on this beach. It stretched to where the man with the umbrella is. There was no sand. We removed the concrete about 2 months ago, and we were able to create a new beach. More beach for summer tourists, thanks to less concrete. That was one step. The Calafell model is considered an example of sustainability. The big difference to Barcelona, however, is that large numbers of tourists only come here at the height of summer. The rest of the time, residents and nature can relax. In Barcelona, the high season lasts all year round.
Back to India and a problem that we all know: scorching heat waves. These heat waves are not just a threat to our health, but are also damaging to the crops. In India, 65% of the population relies on agriculture as their primary source of livelihood. And a majority of these farmers struggle hard to make any profits because of erratic weather patterns. But a few farmers in Tamil Nadu are trying to find out a way to secure their futures.
This summer, India faced extreme heat waves that made most parts of the country feel unbearable. Tamil Nadu was no exception. In some places, heat waves reached almost 43 degrees Celsius. These extreme conditions depleted the groundwater, leading to water scarcity and crop failures. A challenge for many farmers, but some, like Puspavati, who used smart farming, managed to cope with the heat better than others.
I manage our 40-acre farm all by myself. Smart farming has helped my yield as well as water management. Wherever I am, I can operate the motor systems from my mobile phone via the internet and control the water supply.
Puspavati is proud that even though she has no higher education, she is able to manage such a large farm on her own.
மோட்டர் ஆஃப் பண்ணணும் தண்ணி தேவையில்லை அப்படின்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா அவ்வளோதான் ஆஃப் ஆயிடுச்சு.
We can turn the motor on and off with this app. So everything is right here. Of my 40 acres, 25 acres have coconut farms and 5 acres are areca nut.
தோட்டம் ஒரு 3 இடத்துல இருக்குதுங்க. அந்த 3 இடத்துல 3 போர் 2 கிணறு இப்படி இருக்கிறதுனால
I have 3 bore wells and 2 wells spread across 3 different parts of the field. It was hard for laborers to manage the water supply, so I shifted to automated farming.
இப்போ நீங்க பார்த்துக்கிட்டு இருக்கிறது தான் நம்ம ஸ்மார்ட் ஃபார்ம்.
This is the smart farming setup. There are 2 filters on the main line. During power cuts, this prevents the water from entering the tank.
மாட்டி இருக்கிறோம். அதுக்கு பின்னாடி ஃப்ளோ மீட்டருக்கு பின்னாடி திரும்ப வால்வுக்கு கனெக்ஷன் கொடுத்துருக்குறோம். இப்போ தண்ணி எப்படி
This is the flow meter and we have a valve connection here. The water gets supplied as a mixture of manure and water. Here you can see that.
இப்போ தண்ணியும் உரம் ரெண்டு மிக்ஸ் ஆகி இப்போ போகிறது நீங்களே பார்க்கலாம்.
We have faced 3 droughts as farmers, and they were a big challenge for us. But now, even during droughts, we have limited water, but it's never so scarce that we have no supply.
தண்ணி இல்லைங்கிற மாதிரி ஒரு ஃபீல் மட்டும்தான் தெரியுது அவளே. தண்ணி பாய்க்கிறதுக்கு எங்களுக்கு சிரமம் அப்படிங்கிற மாதிரி ஒரு ஃபீல் கிடையாது.
This is the dried waterbed of the river Puspavati used to depend on. It ran dry this year, and if she had not changed her techniques, her fields would not have looked nearly as green. But with her new smart farming, the water in the well is continuously monitored by a sensor and crops are watered only to the extent they need to be. The idea for the application came from a company in Coimbatore. Since 2005, they have been working on water management automation systems. To address the worsening drought conditions in Tamil Nadu, they developed an app that brings their software expertise directly onto the fields, making it accessible for everyone. More than 5,000 farmers are using this app now.
So, yaar venalu
This is homegrown technology behind the software used by thousands of farmers like Puspavati. It doesn't matter whether a farmer is educated, uneducated, skilled or not. This is a user-friendly app.
skilled labor தான் இதை யூஸ் பண்ண முடியுங்கிறது கிடையவே கிடையாது.
A single touch is all it takes to operate and control the system. Anyone can use the app. Big fields are a problem because of labor shortages, so automated farming can be very useful in that case.
இடங்கள்ல வந்து நம்ம விவசாயம் பண்ணனும்னா கண்டிப்பா ஆட்டோமேஷன் யூஸ் பண்ணாதான் முடியும்.
Labor shortages and a lack of skilled workers are problems across the state as more people move away from farming. We visited another farmer using smart agriculture to tackle these issues. If we supply water manually, there is always a risk of overwatering one area while leaving another short. For example, if we plan to supply 400,000 liters to 4 acres of land, we might end up with 100,000 liters of excess water in one section, while the other side of the farm suffers. Our entire crop would collapse. But with automation, we can monitor and track the irrigation flow across the farm, so there is no fear of wasting water. In my opinion, no one should give up farming. Instead, we should embrace modern technology and equipment to improve our farms.
ஒரு மாடர்ன் அக்ரிகல்ச்சருக்குள்ள எல்லாரும் வரணும் அப்படிங்கிறது தான் விவசாயத்தை யாரும் வெளியே போக கூடாதுங்கிறது என்னோட கருத்துங்க.
Tamil Nadu has around 6 million hectares of agricultural land, but the future of many of these fields is now threatened as droughts worsen. Smart farmers like Puspavati feel better prepared for them.
Pollution and climate change make our livelihoods more fragile, no matter if we are farmers, fishers, or city dwellers. So making environment all of ours shared and collective responsibility can make a difference to our future. What do you think? Do let us know. You can email us or reach out to me directly on my social media handles. I will see you next week. Until then, take care. Goodbye. Namaskar.